Today we're going to discuss how you can move to Italy as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. You want to come here, you want to establish yourself in the country, and I'm sitting here with Susanna. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And I wanted to get Susanna's input on what options we have and the processes, and you can decide for yourself what you want to do. So let's kick things off. There's this startup visa for Italy that we're now
Yes,
heavily backing, and I wanted to get your input on the requirements and stuff, so if you can explain to us
right.
what people need to do.
So I would start with the first requirement, that is you can either be in the country or outside of the country, because you know that you can come to Italy pretty much freely. That's a really good thing that the European Union sponsor is free movements around the whole countries. So you can definitely come to Italy. Once you're here, after 8 days that you're here, you usually require to apply for a residence permit or for a visa. So you can apply for a touristic visa, or if you're here for business purposes, you definitely have your visa that's designed for you. You either have an investor visa or a business visa, and because of the startup evolutions that have been in the legislations lately, you have so many like things that get easier for you if you want to promote and be part and found or create a startup. So in that case, you definitely can have access to a visa. You require the visa either when you're in your home country to the consulate, or in this country to the embassy. You go there, you apply for the visa. There are not many requirements. There's just the fact that you need, of course, to have a plan and a project with your startup. You need to invest a sum of money, which is really reducted because you can have a startup in the form of a limited liability company. So the minimum investment is actually €1 for that kind of company. So in that case, the investment will be minimal, and then you would have to apply for getting your visa. And once you have your visa, it has a validity of 1 year, and you can renew that visa. So I mean, that's very simple. Put in simple words. There are definitely more to that, but what I want to get across is the fact that it's really easy if you are involved in the creation and in setting up a startup. In that case, you definitely have access to a lot of resources in this country.
I think that's great, and what you pointed out, Susanna, which is very interesting, and that's something where you would say, hey, that's great, I didn't expect this to be an option, which is that you
Right,
can apply from within Italy,
right,
which is great. So often people come here or to any country and then they're confronted with the reality, oh no, I have to go back home to apply for a visa. I have to work with the
right,
consulate. And this is something, if you can avoid it, definitely avoid it. If you want to come here as an American Canadian, you get 90 days.
right. You have the time because you have to apply for the visa within the first 8 days normally that you are in the country. That would be the regular thing to do. So I think you have plenty of time once you establish to just go to your local embassy and figure things out through them, through their office. They have different kind of services they can provide for you with previously with appointment, of course. But that's a good thing to do. I think you're already in the country. You have everything set up. You have your accommodation. You only need to formalize a few things.
Right. And you said it needs to happen within 8 days, correct?
That's what the legislation says. Yeah.
Okay. And let's say worst case scenario, it takes longer to get the visa than the 90 days that you have on your
Right.
tourist visa. You'd leave, you go hang out in a different country, and then when it's ready, right,
Right.
you can come back. Or is there any way to extend it?
Well, I think from the day you apply, then that's up to the administration to give you the visa. So from the day you apply, you still have 90 days, but you will probably get your visa within those 90 days just to allow you regular stay in the country,
Right.
given that you're eligible for that visa. So I think any other procedures that leads you to having the visa won't take more than 90 days. So that's, I think, a good option because you can stay here. If you want to do things by law, then within the eighth day, you just ask and apply for the visa, and it will be granted for you before the expiration of your touristic visa. So that's a really good thing because you wouldn't have to be illegally staying in the country. No one's
Right.
going to do that, right?
Right. And like we said, in the event that it should take longer, right,
Yeah,
you can leave, go hang out in a nearby country, a country that's not part of Schengen.
right.
If the 90 days are counted towards your stay in the Schengen area, you can go hang out in an Eastern European country that's not part of Schengen. There are certain Eastern European countries that are part of the European Union, but not Schengen. So
Right.
you guys can go hang out in those countries. But we definitely recommend applying within the first week of you coming here for the simple reason that you want to get it done before the 90 days.
Right. You can even apply previously even before coming to the country. That's an option. Like if you know you want to be here for long, then you go to your local consulate in your home country and you apply, and you're here and you already have your visa. That would be great. But if you were not thinking of that and you thought of that when you went in the country, when you entered the country, then it's good to have both the options, I think.
Exactly. And so we want to break down a little bit now the investment requirements, especially for the entrepreneur visa, which happen to be 250,000. Correct? Do you want to explain a little bit more about that?
Well, I think a good thing that Italy has, and many countries have that thing, is the golden visa. They have the golden visa program. That means that within an investment that you make in the country, you can be allowed in that country and be eligible for a future citizenship, which is really important. Many countries do not offer that, but still, like, it's an investment that will grant you a future citizenship, which will allow you a lot of benefits. So that's a really good thing for people that are looking to invest a consistent sum of money in the country.
I think so too. And like the 250,000 that's invested in the business, I mean, what we wanted to talk about is the income tax breaks that you can have. And we have to say here that this applies to first-time residents in Italy. So to you, I'm sorry, Susanna.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it then, because it doesn't apply to me.
So how it works is that if you've never been a resident in Italy, you want to come live here as a foreigner with no prior residency background in the country, then you can qualify for a tax break of either 70% or 90%, which means that out of all the income that you have, right, 70% you're not going to pay taxes on. So let's say your income is $1 million a year, right? 700,000 will be tax-free. If you live in one of the qualifying regions, so it's not everywhere in Italy. In Rome, it's not 70%. In Milan, it's not 70%. But in the southern regions, the islands of Sardinia, the island of Sicily, if you live in any of these beautiful islands, if you want to live in any of these beautiful islands, right, Sicily, Sardinia, then you can qualify for a 90% tax break. Now, there is a caveat, right? There's always a contingency, right? Italy does not want you to have a prior residence experience in the country, and they also expect you to live in the country. You know, so this is not Dubai residency where you can qualify for less time in the country than Italy requires from you. But I always say that Italy is a quality play. You know, with these tax breaks, and hopefully the locals will not get too jealous.
I am very jealous, because do you want to know what's my tax break? 22%.
Right.
So it's a lot less. I'm paying my taxes on 78% of my annual income.
Right, right. So if a foreigner comes in and he moves to one of the qualifying southern regions, they're going to pay less taxes than you. I don't know how that makes you feel as an Italian, but what we are trying to do here with Nomad Elite, we are really helping entrepreneurs, business move to Italy so that they can provide jobs to Italians. And this is a win-win situation for both, I think, because I think Italy needs innovation.
I agree.
Especially in technology. And just given my experience working with Italians, like the beautiful Susanna right here to my right, like very devoted, very intelligent, multilingual. I mean, there's so much quality there just from an employee perspective, from a hiring perspective. Yes, you can get probably cheaper labor in other countries, but I always say that Italy is a quality play, and in life you get what you pay for, pretty much, right? If you want to pay more, if you want to get a little bit higher or even much higher quality in Italy, then you can do that. And labor in Italy is cheaper than it is in the United States, and there are of course different ways how you can hire. And the thing is, when you open up a company in Italy and you want to employ Italians, then the system is going to be different, right? There's going to be different requirements than, let's say, you're just becoming a tax resident of Italy, and let's say you have the company in a country like Bulgaria or Romania, where, you know, the corporate tax rate will be lower than it is here. So people have a few options to choose from. And we were just before talking about the analogy of the buffet. You know, when you go into a buffet, you get a plate, you're not going to throw everything on the plate that's offered inside a buffet, right? You take certain things that are interesting, that look interesting to you, and you try them. And when it comes to business, I feel like you personally have to find the setup that suits you the best. And if you are like, hey, we just want to get, or you just want to get tax residence in Italy, and you want to have the company in a different country, a different geographic location, you can totally do that. So people are not tied to getting like 100% married, which is something that we talked about too before, right? but you
Right.
can just have your tax residence in Italy and benefit greatly for 5 years. It's extendable for another 5 years. And like I said, certain regions you get a 70% tax rate, a 70% tax break, which means that out of all the taxable income that you have, 70% is not taxable, and the other 30% you will be taxed depending on what tax bracket you fall into. And we've done a couple videos of this in the past, where I walk people through some numbers, but this is very attractive,
It
if
is.
Italy wants to become more glorious, because I think Italy is glorious
It
in its
is.
own way in so many categories, but what we want for Italy is more technological innovation,
I agree with you.
because that brings jobs to Italians, and high paying jobs,
Right.
and foreign companies. If you're coming in from the United States, Canada, you're likely going to pay less hiring people in Italy. And as you can see here, a very skilled individual,
Thank
like,
you.
I honestly think it would be impossible to find someone like you in America. Like, you speak what, 3 languages? Two, three? How many do you speak?
As a matter of fact, I do speak a little bit of German. I was raised in a
Right,
German school, but I have to say English is my main one. So I would say
right,
English is the next language that I speak better, aside from Italian.
right.
But yeah, but I totally agree with what you were saying. There are so many brilliant minds here. Like our education system, it's really tough. It's really good. I have so many peers that just graduated, like I did 1 year ago, and they have such, like great skills. And I do not feel that the system and the government valorizes those skills. It doesn't value those skills as much as it could be. Like everyone wants to go away just because they don't feel valued, and that's something that needs to change in the country.
I just want to add something here, which probably applies to many Italians, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. I just want to tell you what I see. And the same is also true in Portugal. Like the Portuguese people, there's so many that are skilled, that speak like Spanish, Portuguese, English, and multilingual, and just very skilled people, but they have to leave the country for the simple reason that there's such a job shortage across multiple
Yes.
categories that they have to leave. But if you talk, and I've talked to Italians too, they're like, if the job market here was better, I'd never move.
Yeah, because
Right?
the
Because
quality
the
of life,
quality of life is amazing, right?
I mean, you could see that for yourself since being here for such a short amount of time, but you will have the chance to see that better. You don't get a better quality of life, I think. Like I've been in the US, I love the US, it's the greatest country ever. But
You hear that from an Italian, that means a lot.
I do love the US
Right,
100%. I would move there tomorrow, but I know that I would miss some things, and that's never good. When you will know that you will miss some things. I will miss the quality of food, the simplicity of things, the people, and the warmth that they have, and the
exactly.
environment that there is, and the fact that you can, mind your own business in this country. No one is going to go at you. No one is going to bother you that much. You have access to incredible things. It's just that you need to know a way to get them the real value that they have.
What you just said, Susanna, about the warmth of the people. And this is something that is greatly neglected in, like, extremely industrialized and extremely modernized, Americanized North America, and to be fair, also many other parts of the world, where the capitalistic side of things is prioritized.
Right.
Humanity is being under prioritized in so many places now, but here I feel like people really genuinely want the best for you, and that's what we do as a company too. And if you watch our videos and you compare them to our competitors, like so many of our clients and prospects and people we're communicating their email is like, hey, what you're doing is impressive, because we actually care about the full package of people. We're not just helping people move for tax reasons. Don't get me wrong, it's very important.
Right.
Like, people want to minimize their taxes, they want to get more economic output. So these are very crucial factors to building a successful business, yet we don't want to under-prioritize, undersell the importance of a super high quality of life.
Yes.
Which, in my humble opinion, Italy is the prime candidate for the simple reason that you guys have worked. I mean, I'm Italian too, on my mother's side.
Right.
So I know, just living with my Italian grandparents, that what they prioritized, communication. Like, my grandfather was the most charismatic guy I've ever met. Like, humanity was always number one spot for him,
Right.
number one spot. And I
Right.
feel like this human element, Susanna, is so not appreciated today, in so many countries. In Italy, it still is.
It
In
is.
Spain, it is too. And in Mexico, it certainly is. But if you're coming from other countries, and I have to say also like Germany, Austria, like Italy is different. You know, the Southern European
Right.
countries, the mentality is different, and family is important, correct?
Right.
And
So important.
what's also important is that just like the attention, paying attention to the little things. And if you're coming from America, you know, and we talked about the customer service in America, which is extraordinary. There's no place with greater customer service than America. And you would
Right.
agree with this, wouldn't
I
you?
would agree 100%. I mean, I'm not saying it just for saying it. The US has great opportunities and a lot of things to offer. And I do remember, whenever any movie or TV series from the US would, portray Italians, and they would portray this Dolce Vita lifestyle, and they would portray, like the warmth of people. I just thought that that was a stereotype in a way. But growing up in this country, I realized that it actually, there is a part of reality to that depiction, right? There is a part of, I mean, it's like when you see a movie about New York, then you go to New York and you're like, oh my God, it's just like the movies, right? When you go to Italy, I think the feeling you have, especially when you go to Rome and some other areas, but Rome especially, the fact that it's always been depicted to you in a certain way, it will definitely reflect on your experience. You will be here, you will come in the country and be like, it's just like they told me, spaghettis and music and Italian
Right.
traditions. I think that's very important because it has an aspect of reality to it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, you know, we talked about the human aspect, which is so important. And I have praised you for your human qualities because I feel like
Thank you.
I know what it's like working with people. And I personally have not met a single person that is as devoted as the Italians are. So I'm going to give a lot of praise to your country,
Thanks.
to the
I
people.
will
And
take it in the name of the whole country.
like this has been engineered over generations. Like that devotion is at a level that you haven't seen before. Like Italians, like this is just my experience, right? So you might not agree with me as an Italian, but my experience is that Italians, what they do 100%. Like if they work, they're 100% at work, right? If they're with their family, they're 100% with that. And I
Right.
feel like that's how whole life should be. And to me, it seems like this is a very balanced country,
It
very
is.
balanced country.
At least you would notice that sometimes when I'm at dinner, I don't look at my phone, and it is what it is, and it's what everyone does. Either they are high level managers or I don't know, part time workers. Whatever it is, your employment level, you do cherish times for yourself, for your family. Free time, weekend is something that you never work on because it's a holy like festivity.
It's holy.
It's,
You told me that you're not religious.
I am not.
I know
Yeah.
that a lot of Italians that I have met, a lot of Italians are religious. They're Catholic, like people
Right.
in Austria,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
people
yeah.
in
There is
Mexico
a
are.
huge Catholic community.
And so they're religious and they value their religious routine a lot. And so, but there's also people that do things out of good faith, but they're
Right.
not religious in the sense that they go to church every Sunday, right? So
Yeah.
you can be faithful in different ways.
You can definitely take the time for yourself and count it as time you take for religion. Like it's at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what kind of how you employ your free time, as long as it makes you happy. And having a country that promotes religious freedom, like I am not religious, I did not take part to religious tradition growing up, just because of a family choice, and that's completely respected in this country. That's also a good factor, I think, the fact that I can be part of the community without sharing his religious belief.
Right, right. And it's very important. So if you come here, a lot of things will change, I think, like your quality of life will improve drastically. And I feel like that's important. That's what so many North American clients that we're having right now, they're like, the cost of living in America is insane. And
Right.
the value for money is crazy.
I get it.
Like in terms of value for money in Italy, you probably get, I want to say 60 to 70 cents on the dollar, which is good. It's not as cheap as Southeast Asia. What you get, like just the experience, you're living in a clean environment and that has to be paid for, right?
Right.
You're living in an environment where people are highly educated, where people are highly, like detail oriented, like all these little things. In my opinion, I mean, I'm a business owner, I run businesses. I honestly would rather pay some taxes, and this is probably a bit contradictory to what you're hearing from some other people that are offering similar services where like you have to cut your taxes down to zero. I personally don't believe in that. I believe in value for money.
I
And just
agree.
because you're paying 0% taxes in a place, where you actually spend a lot more on your lifestyle, but it doesn't mean that the quality is that great either. So in Italy right now with this great first-time residency deal, I just truly believe that any person not taking this up, I mean, if you're that serious about getting your life fixed in terms of quality of life. You know, if you want to live longer, and Italy has one of the highest life expectancies in the entire world.
I would say
It's
it's the
like top
pasta.
10.
No.
Like, I've been to Japan, and Japan has one of the highest for the simple reason that the food is incredibly healthy.
Right.
But I would never ever want to live in Japan because the lifestyle just doesn't appeal. You know, shoebox condos. Yes, you can argue there are places where you can get a bigger place, but if you want to live in a metropolitan, good luck. I mean, you're going to spend a fortune. Like, if you're used to spending whatever, like 3 to 4,000 on rent in America, what would that get you in Rome?
3 to 4,000.
Yeah, dollars. I mean, that's pretty much the same in euro
That
now
would get
because
you the biggest, most luxurious apartment in Rome. Like, I mean, I think everyone enjoys their quality of life in Rome from a salary of 2K a month. I think that's a really good standard, honestly, factoring in everything. You know, 2K a month, that means that you can find an apartment for below 1K a month. And that would make, I mean, then of course, every situation is different. It depends on your lifestyle. But I do agree that, you know, the compared to some US realities, I've been to the US, I've been to New York for quite some times, and yeah, I mean, I love the city, but you definitely need more than 2K a month.
and that's where Italians end up in America. Like, so many Italians are living in Rome. I mean, it's got to be tens of thousands or more than that. It's probably more than that, but I don't want to put out any hard numbers. But
In
I know a
Rome, you
lot of.
mean?
I mean, I'm saying a lot of Italians are living in New York.
Oh, New York.
Like a ton. It's probably the #1 state for
Right,
Italians.
right.
I believe.
I don't know many, but I remember meeting a lot of Italian, and of course, like Italian businesses, especially like you know, like food businesses, that's very praised.
This is where you want to start it.
Yeah.
New York. It's like
Yeah.
one of the best places to test
Yes.
it because the market is so concentrated.
Right.
You know, and so that's cool. I mean, we covered a lot of ground now. If you have any questions, then feel free to leave a comment below, and we look forward to talking to you in the next video. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.